Hey, all, Cohen here. I'm feeling a decent amount better. Still not feeling 100%, but I thought I'd do an update. I don't have much to talk about as far as the time that I spent in Austin. After surgery, the first like 4 days, I guess. The first day, obviously, I was feeling rough, but the days after that, I was feeling okay, and I did go out a couple times. However, towards the end of my stay, I was literally in the hotel room pretty much the entire time. I didn't go anywhere. I was starting to feel like better, and then uh, obviously traveling home is never fun. On my flight home, I think I mentioned that originally, like, I had my flight there was a one way, and I had decent seats at the front of the plane. And I looked back and I realized that actually I didn't pick my own seats. These seats that I had were assigned to me by Hope Air. So, for some reason, going to surgery, I had better accommodations flying than I did coming home, which to me is kind of backwards. I know that Hope Air is a income support funding program, therefore you're not always going to get the best of the best because it's what can be afforded to you. However, showing up at the airport, getting ready to leave, and only knowing that I was on a Delta flight instead of a WestJet flight, which was originally the plan from what all my emails said, um, got to the airport, found out that it would not be a WestJet flight, that it was a Delta. Then we had to go to the Delta desk, and from there, we also found out that it was a like we had to make a stop, so we actually went from Austin to Detroit, and then we had like less than an hour to get from where we got off the plane to getting over to the uh, area where we would board to go to Toronto. And I touched on that and the pain that that was, but the fact that the person that was pushing my wheelchair got us there with enough time to get on the plane. So it just really sucked that recovering from surgery, I had to take a plane from Austin to Detroit and then be like zoomed off across to the other end of the airport to get my connecting flight to go to Toronto so I could get home in under an hour. Um, and then the flight wasn't terrible. It was like 40 minutes. And then we got to Toronto. And the last time that I went through the airport at Toronto, coming back home from surgery, was a lot different. This time it was just a clusterfuck and a pain in the butt and frustrating. Um, I think I touched on that as well. But either way, I ended up getting home. And when I got home, I just started feeling terrible. I ended up getting a sinus infection, which I had to deal with, which sucked. And then I want to say maybe 4 days after that, I started feeling like I was getting a UTI. So I had gone to my doctor's and did a urine sample, but because it was a weekend, I went on a Friday, I believe. So what ended up happening was that I did the urine test and my doctor gave me an antibiotic to take just in case I did have one because I wouldn't be able to get a hold of anybody over the weekend. There is an after hours clinic. However, sometimes getting through to them and then getting a prescription done and all that kind of stuff, it would take until the following week anyways. Um, so then this Monday, I was feeling terrible, just completely and utterly terrible. Um, I had actually called my surgeon's after hours PA in order to talk to them about what was going on, and we chit chatted about what could be happening. And then on the Monday, I ended up calling my doctor's office and asking, like, hey, where. I tried to call during the day, but I couldn't get through, and I was friggin' exhausted, so I was trying when I could. And that evening, I got into my doctor's office, and actually, one time that I have a little bit of luck was that my doctor was actually working that evening instead of just having somebody random who doesn't know anything about what's been going on with me for the last 3 years. Which is usually I end up getting somebody who doesn't know anything, and then I have to explain, and then they still don't really understand or know what to do with me. So, I think it was about 7:30 at night. I was talking to my doctor on the phone, and she had said that my urine test came back and that there was no bacteria, no infection, or anything like that. So I stopped, obviously, taking the antibiotic, but there was clearly still something wrong. And because 2 Februarys ago I had a bladder stone removed, we thought maybe there could be something like that. However, I had a cystoscopy during my surgery, which would have shown anything in my bladder, and I never got any reports back or anything about that. And when I did have a bladder stone, it was found during my cystoscopy, during my surgery, so only half of my surgery could have been done at that time. So, therefore, I'm aware that anything that could have been there or might have been starting would have been found. So that was crossed off the list. However, my doctor did think, well, maybe you have a kidney stone or had one that passed and now it's in your bladder, because I ended up getting blood in my urine that day. And so that was starting to really freak me out because I was feeling terrible. I was in over 10 out of 10 pain. I could I could not walk, I could not sit, I could barely stand. There were points throughout the weekend and on Monday where I literally could not sit or lay down, and standing was actually the only thing I could do. And I kid you not when I say there were periods of time where I was standing for up to 3 hours just so that whatever I was feeling would subside so that I could actually sit. I was sitting on ice packs and doing heating pads as well, doing whatever I could to make myself feel better, which the surgeon's office did say, like, at least keep doing that if it is making you feel better. And, like, you know, keep us posted, message us whenever you need anything type thing. This is what we have to say from afar, but talk to your doctor and let us know. So I ended up keeping up with them, and when I talked to my doctor told me that because there possibly could be a kidney stone issue, that the best thing to do would be to go to the hospital. However, because of the state I was in mentally and physically, that evening I would not have been able to go to the ER, and I would have literally had a meltdown. For some reason, if I have a planned surgery or a planned medical appointment, I have no issues or whatever. But when something pops up and I don't know what it is, and it's like an emergency situation, my mental health just goes to complete and utter garbage. The last time that I remember having to go to Emerge, I literally told them that I felt like I needed to be checked into the psych ward because of how I was feeling. However, I was lucky enough that the person that was dealing with me actually also works at the office where I had my top surgery. So she was very lovely and understanding and talked to me throughout the whole thing, which calmed me down a lot. And that's a rarity, that you will end up somewhere, and let alone somebody being kind enough to understand and be able to calm you down, but also know that, like, this person works where you went for top surgery and they do understand how you feel and how your mental health can be affected and all that type of stuff. So that's very rare, and that was one case where I was calmed down quite a bit by this person, and I'm super grateful for it. But anyways, I talked to my doctor, and what my doctor did was she gave me a painkiller because what I had been on was Percocets, and to be honest, Percs and Oxys really mess with my head. My vision was starting to go wonky. I was wearing my reading glasses because I was getting, like, migraines, but oddly enough, the migraines didn't hurt as much as the rest of my pain, so it wasn't like terrible, but I was getting nauseous from just my vision being so screwed up. Um, so she gave me Dilaudid, which my parents went and picked up the prescription that evening, and she also gave me Ativan so that the next day I could go into the hospital and be able to mentally be okay. So what happened was I got my prescription, I took it, and I went to sleep for the evening, and the next day my mom came at around noon and picked me up, and we went down to St. Joe's ER, and I checked myself in there, and we the ER is under construction right now, so it's not as big as it normally is. So there were many different rooms that I got put into. I won't go into like all the each little individual like room, but pretty much I was taken in and I got my wristbands and everything with all my information on them, and then I was taken into another room where I ended up getting blood work done, and then I had to wait, and then I was told that I was going to be getting a CT scan to check for anything going on in my bladder, my kidneys, or the general area of where I had surgery. And I can't remember the time frames exactly of how long each step took, but I think I was moved at least like 4 or 5 times. I went through at least 5 ice packs while I was there. I brought one with me, and then I had to ask at the hospital for ice packs because obviously it's not like I could just go find ice somewhere. I had a gel ice pack that I brought with me, so it's not even like I had one that I could go get ice and refill myself. Then from there, I got taken upstairs, I believe, and I ended up in another waiting room where I was waiting for my CT scan. And luckily, there were a couple ladies there that were waiting for results, and they were just spending their time waiting, and they were very talkative, not in a bad way, in a good way. It actually helped me not focus on my own pain and stuff. And they were just very kind. It was really nice to actually be able to talk to people. And then I ended up going for my CT scan, and then waiting for the results. And I also took a urine test as well, and waiting for the results from that. When I got the results from my CT scan, it came back that there was nothing. There was nothing in my bladder, nothing in my kidneys, nothing anywhere that should be causing this issue. And when my blood work came back, it just showed that I had a bit of a high white blood cell count, which, because I had blood in my urine, that would most likely be the cause of it. And after being seen by a doctor, we were talking, and she said, honestly, I think the catheter is your problem. And I had said, she asked how long the catheter had been in. I told her that I had surgery on October 11th, and that I had been told to do my voiding trial 2 weeks after, and I did. However, I had like the tiniest drip leak, and the surgeon's office told me to keep the catheter in for 2 more weeks. I myself know that my body does not. Nobody's body enjoys foreign bodies inside of them. Nobody's body enjoys a catheter. However, for some reason, my body extremely hates them. I've never had a good time with them. Any time that I've had a catheter for over 2 weeks, it has caused me issues. And I did state this to my surgeon's office. However, because there was a leak, the result of taking a catheter out too soon in that case could mean that the leak would continue and possibly not heal up properly. So instead of having another fistula, and having to see if that would close, or risking that I might need a surgery to close that one, because the drip was not coming from where I originally had a fistula the entire time. It was from a area just below that. So my old fistula was reclosed and it stayed closed, and then there was just a small leak from where a stitch was that was still in. And so I did keep the catheter in as long as I could. Unfortunately, like, it was literally telling my body enough was enough, or my body was telling me that enough was enough. There are cases where people do have catheters in for an extended period of time. However, majority of the time, 2 weeks is the longest that a doctor or a surgeon will suggest it stay in, unless you end up having an issue that would need it to stay in longer. And because my surgeon is in Austin and I live in Ontario, Canada, it's a matter of I can't just go there and have them check it out. So I have to have surgeons or doctors here check it out. And I do not in any way, I'm not angry or upset or mad or have blame or anything towards my surgeons, because they were doing what they know should be done in order to have my surgery heal the way that it has to. It just so happens that my body didn't want to cooperate with that. So, with talking to the doctor that I was with, I had told her that at this point my catheter was in for uh, just over 3 weeks, and she said, "Yeah, we should probably take that out, because with nothing showing up on any of your scans, with your blood work not coming back as anything that would give us an indication that it's something else, the only thing that we can think of is that it's the catheter." So they ended up going and getting a nurse set up to come in and pull my catheter out, and the nurse came in. I want to say she was awesome. I want to say it was closer to like 8 o'clock at night at this point when she came in. And so I had been at the hospital for almost 8 hours. And she walked in and she had a t-shirt on, which honestly, I loved it. It just, when you're just having a real rough time and something funny just, it just made me feel better because it made me laugh. But she came in and she had a shirt on that said, "I find it humorous," but it had a bone on it, and it was spelled humorous as in, like, your funny bone. So, like, you gotta laugh at that. And the fact that she actually had some, like, I I don't know how to explain it. It's something where that this person is like, they're not mocking their job. I feel like by wearing that shirt, it's trying to alleviate something that could be going on with a patient, taking that couple seconds to make somebody laugh without even saying a word. Like, just being able to be distracted from pain is the best thing ever, and I must say that shirt was one of the best things ever. If you hear water in the background, it's just my laundry being done. My laundry room is right next to where I'm sitting, so you might hear water or the laundry machine. If it becomes louder, I'll move, but right now I'm comfy where I'm sitting. Yeah, so she came in and she pulled out my catheter, and as she was doing it, she had said to me, like, "Did you feel that, like, extra tug there?" And I was like, "A little bit, but, like, and I'm like, "Oh, is it out?" And she's like, "Yeah, it is." And what she had said was that it seemed like the catheter was actually trying to adhere to the inside of my bladder. So the bleeding that was going on within my bladder, or the blood that was coming out in my urine, was from the catheter causing issues. I'm going to move because now the sink's draining and it's going to make a loud noise. But, so I'll just find a new spot to sit for now. But either way, I guess for some reason, my body was just not jiving with the catheter, and it actually started to try to adhere inside, and any movement and stuff was just irritating it and causing that bleeding. And also where the incision was, because I had a suprapubic catheter, I didn't have a Foley, so there was an incision in my pelvic region where the tube was coming out of, where I had a flip flow valve. And you could actually see that the catheter tube was starting to like try to push itself out. It was out further by at least half a centimeter than it was supposed to be, and the suture that was holding it in, it's the suture they use is the non-dissolvable, so the old school stitch, and that was actually, hi Harley, that was actually pulling on the area that it was stitched into and causing it to kind of start to tear, which that didn't start happening until like the day or two before I went to the hospital, and was one of the reasons why I also went to the hospital, because I was like, why does this look like it's trying to push its own way out? Because it was. So the catheter was pulled, and I tell you, when I say my pain from being over a 10 out of 10, even with medication, going down to like, I want to say at that point it went directly down to like a 4, maybe a 3 out of 10, was just crazy. I could walk. I was able to walk normally, and I could walk without pain. It was like night and day. And like, to even think, like, it's just a clusterfuck and a mind-blowing thing to go through. And when you're healing from such a surgery, and when you come home and there's next to nobody who knows what to do with you, what's going on, or a lot of doctors or nurses don't have that instinctive, like, I'm going to care for you regardless, and I'm going to figure out what's going on. It's very traumatizing, and it's very mentally upsetting, and it only can make things physically worse. So having my catheter removed was just, like, I can't even explain how much of a relief it was. I came home, and I still had like 2 pain meds left from my doctor, and because I did still have some pain and wasn't feeling like great, I did take my pain medications because I was told to, and I am also on a antibiotic, which generally after you get a catheter removed, you're on antibiotics for 3 days just to make sure that nothing causes any type of infection or problems going forward. Today is, I believe today is Thursday. To be honest, I don't know what day it is. My mental capacity has just been way out of whack. Mentally, emotionally, physically, I've been a mess, and that's why I haven't made any videos. It's been extremely difficult for me to focus, to remember things, to even just sit in front of this camera and remember what went on and how to put it into words for everyone to explain. But at this point in time, I am feeling a lot better. I do not have any pain. I can stand to pee, and I don't have to hold a fistula closed. I can stand to pee normally, and I've not been able to do that at all. Like, I've been able to stand to pee, but I've had to hold a fistula. But the time frame in which I was able to stand to pee was literally 6 months out of the entire, like, 3 years and 2 months that I've been going through this. So after 3 years and 2 months, I've actually been able to stand to pee the way that I'm supposed to, the way that was intended to from doing this surgery, and it's awesome. I'm so happy. I've been feeling mentally exhausted throughout this whole thing, and the only thing I really still have going on is waiting for my mental and emotional state to catch up with my physical state. Like, physically, as far as my body goes, I'm feeling really good. I still feel foggy in my head and stuff, so at this point in time, I'm still exhausted mentally. And I feel under the weather. I don't have a cold, I am not sick, but all of the stress and everything from what I just went through has really left me feeling completely and utterly depleted, is the best way that I can put it. So, this is probably the most coherent update that you will have gotten to this point, and I do apologize for not being able to be more up to date and more coherent. To be honest, what I've been going through has just been feeling like shit. There's no other two words, like, there's no other words to put to it. I was physically, mentally, emotionally going through it and just not well. At this point, I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to mentally get my bearings back and feel somewhat like a human, where I wasn't at all before. I'm starting to feel better in the sense of things will get better from here, and they will only get better from here, whereas before, because of what was going on, I felt like, what did I do to deserve this? What was the reasoning behind why I had to have all that happen and to be brought down to a point where I physically was just gone? I will say that this and stage 1 has been the hardest surgeries that I've gone through for this. I have had 8 phalloplasty related surgeries from having my surgeries in San Francisco and in Austin. I had a bladder stone removal during this time period, and I had a testicular implant removed earlier on this year that was put back in this surgery. It's still sitting high, which I'm hoping that in time it'll drop without me having to have anything done. It's not a problem, it's not an issue at this point, it's just a matter of it sitting higher than the other one, which I know not everything is supposed to be the same on both sides, everything's different, da-da-da-da-da-da. However, it is one of those things where it does need to drop a bit from where it is, but that's not really anything I'm overly concerned with at this point in time. I'm focusing on just trying to feel better and get back to my normal self. It's been close to a month now. The 11th of November will be a month post-op, so I am really just looking forward to getting back into feeling better and to no longer having to go through any more surgeries to do with phalloplasty. And to be honest, if I don't have to have another surgery for the rest of my life, I'll be happy. If I don't have, I just don't want to deal with any more medical stuff for the next little while. I do have, obviously, things that I have to take care of as a human being medically. However, I just really, really am hopeful that I'm done now. I'm really hopeful. And I am grateful. There are a lot of people who will post about the good. There are a lot of people who will post about the bad. I have found lately that there are more people willing to post about the bad points of what they've been through, whereas when I was getting ready to go through this surgery, not many people were willing to talk about the bad points. And if I'm going to be completely honest, there is no way that anybody could go through this type of surgery and have it go 100% perfectly without any issues. So unfortunately for me, I was one of those people who did not know anybody and did not have anybody to really talk to about the bad points until I started going through more surgeries and ended up meeting up with people that I was having surgery with at the same points. That did help a lot. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the surgery that I've been able to have and that I am where I am now. I am happy. I'm content. However, I'm also not going to sugarcoat things, and I'm not going to be the most overly positive person just because I feel like I should be grateful for something. I've been through a lot. A lot of us have been through a lot, and we are grateful. But we do also have to be honest, and we do have to be open when we experience the things that aren't so great. And we can't always be positive, and we can't always be so grateful and thankful as everybody assumes we should be. I guess I can say I give kudos to those who are constantly positive about everything, regardless of how many issues they've had. However, I don't feel like that is a realistic or healthy point of view, so that's why I don't go to that extreme. I am not somebody who is overly negative, and I am not somebody who's overly positive. I live in a realm of the reality of what is going on. And if it's going good, it's going good. If it's going bad, it's going bad. If something needs to be talked about, it's going to be talked about. And at the end of the day, I'm grateful for the support from Hope Air. I'm grateful for the Crane Center. I'm grateful for Dr. Safer. I'm grateful for Dr. Crane. I'm grateful for Judah and for the newer staff that has helped me out this round. It was also a little bit daunting because when I went back, it's been a year since I had surgery, and majority of the staff in office I did not know, and they did not know me. So that's having to re-go through everything that you've been through with a new person and having them understand it or give you the care that you were used to from the people that had been there the entire time. I want to say that Judah was a huge advocate for me throughout this, and unfortunately, but fortunately for Judah, Judah had gotten another job opportunity and decided to take it, and I'm so happy for Judah. And just, I do want to say that I am grateful for the time that I did have Judah around to advocate for me and to keep me level-headed when I was not. But at the end of the day, these types of things are not just so simply, it's great. It's like, I finally got it. I can just ignore everything bad that happened, or I can ignore any bad that's going on in the moment. So I do want to just say that if you are going through this and you feel how you feel, it's okay. And if you need to talk and let things out, it's okay. You don't need to extend extreme gratitude. You don't need to push extreme positivity to try to make yourself feel better. If you're somebody who uses positivity as a tool in your life and it works for you, that's amazing. But that's not how everybody functions. And I just think it's very important to let people know that your experience that you go through is yours on your own. And it's valid. And what you've been through is a lot. So the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, whatever you want to say, it's all there. It's not just one thing. And it is a great thing to finally be in the position that I am in and recovering properly. However, what I have been through has also been a fucking nightmare, to be honest. And it's been hard and it's been difficult. And I have spent majority of the last 3 years not in regret. So don't take this as me saying regret. Because if you want to twist my words, then that's a you problem. I don't regret what I've done. It's just a matter of the last 3 years have been extremely difficult for me, personally. And I know that I see a lot of people online being extremely positive and extremely overly grateful in my perception, because you should never feel like you owe your entire life to someone else. You owe your life to you. And you should be grateful to yourself that you made it through, that you did what you needed to do, regardless of what you went through. Because while these surgeons and doctors and other people have helped us out, it's you at the end of the day who decides what you do, what you can push through, what you can handle, and all those other types of things. So, this video is kind of hard to make just because I know that there are probably going to be people that think that I'm ungrateful or think that, I'm shooting other people down, possibly. However, it's the reality of what this surgery is. It is not perfected. It is not the most common thing. And even though this surgery is also done on cisgender males more frequently than anybody would like to admit, there are very big similarities where other doctors that are urologists and deal with both female and male cis and non-cis people, that this should not be as difficult as it is to go through. It should not be a matter of you can't find anybody to help you. It should not be a matter of you have to do everything for yourself once you get back home and try to get everybody else to understand or educate others. Like, it is good to educate your doctors if they do not know, but it becomes very tiresome. And the biggest thing I can say is make sure that your doctor is going to connect with your surgeon, because if they are not going to, then that is going to be a problem that you will run into in the future when you're going through this. So always remember to advocate for yourself. You're going to have to. This is not a question of if and when. You will have to. And nobody's mentally ready for it. No matter how much you prepare, you can watch as many videos as you want. You can talk to as many people as you want. You could talk to as many surgeons, read up on everything as much as you want. There is nothing that will prepare you mentally, physically, emotionally, all encompassing for this. So give yourself a bit of grace. I know I've had an extremely hard time giving myself grace, and just acknowledging when things are not okay, when things are not right, when things are being done the wrong way, or when your doctors back home just don't listen to you. I've spent 3 years feeling very unheard throughout this surgery, and in general, to do with my mental health as well. I've felt very unheard for a majority of my life. So it's been extremely hard for me, and I think that gives an understanding as to why it was more difficult for me, and maybe why I am not overly positive about everything. I didn't get that moment of crying out of happiness because I was able to pee, because of the amount of times that I had that taken away from me by an issue happening with my surgery, whatever it may have been. So even though I can pee standing and everything, I still didn't get that. Even just like now that I can, I didn't get that. I did not get that opportunity. There are a lot of people who, I've watched their videos and they talk about how they cried because they were so happy. I didn't get that. I cried because it wasn't happening. And the issues that took away from the moments of happiness have kind of stunted how they end up now, because it's been such a long journey. It's just like, why cry over it now? Or I've cried so much, I don't have that in me anymore, or whatever it may be. I don't know what it is, but I know that one of the things that I honestly looked forward to was peeing for the first time and being so incredibly happy that I was brought to tears like so many other people were. And I never got that. I've not gotten the moments of joy that I should have. And because of things that have happened, those moments happening are not as easily celebrated. So I just want to put another aspect and another view out there for people, because majority of what I'm seeing online is everybody being so happy and grateful and thrilled regardless of what's gone on. And I'm not saying you gotta badmouth anybody, or you gotta be pissed off, or you gotta whatever. But the reality of it is, you don't have to be overly grateful. You don't have to push yourself into a false sense of positivity just because. I've tried to have positivity, and I have had moments of positivity. I'm not saying that I haven't. I'm just saying that I will not neglect the parts that we're not positive. I'm not going to show you only positive, and I'm not going to act like the whole thing is one big positive. So, if you're somebody out there who's struggling, you can feel free to message me below. You can go on Trans Fellas and message me. If you are looking into surgery, like, feel free to message me. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you which surgeon to go to. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I'm not going to tell you how to react. But I will be there to listen, and I will be there to try to be understanding, because I myself have been through a lot. And I think to discredit anything that I have been through by being overly positive is not good. So at the end of the day, I am happy. I'm happy that I am at the point that I'm at now. I am happy that I feel better. I am happy that I am on the mend. However, there's been a lot of negative. There has been a lot of down times. There have been a lot of times where I have thought of taking my own life. And that's just my experience, and that's just me being honest, and nobody can take that from me. So, if anybody needs to reach out and talk, I'm here. I'll talk. I don't mind at all. I won't judge you. I won't try to make you feel any type of way. If I do, you can definitely tell me that I've made you feel a certain type of way, and I will honestly apologize for it, and I will completely turn my perspective into a different way, because maybe I misunderstood you, or maybe we misunderstood each other. But I do want you to know that I am here. I'll do some more updates. This has been a really long video, but obviously it needed to be done and it needed to be said, because I have felt very alone. Even with having people go through surgeries at the same time as me, or knowing other people that are going through something, it's been really difficult. And then also the fact that I'm just gonna put it out there, being Canadian and going over to the US and trying to, maneuver my way around and try to find some forms of socialization or understanding or togetherness. Every time that I had went for surgery, usually between 2 to 5 days after I leave, there would be a Crane Connects meetup where a bunch of trans people would meet up and hang out, and I missed out on every one of those because I wasn't there. Those things possibly could have been a big help to me, but unfortunately that was not something that was available. And I'm not like, it's not like, oh, how dare Crane Center or whatever. It's just I unfortunately missed out on those, and those could have been very helpful to me. So if your surgeon's office has meetups for trans people while you are going through something, check it out. It could definitely be very helpful, because the worst thing that you can do in this situation is find yourself alone. You won't always find somebody who understands 100%. You won't always find somebody who's going to have your back at every moment, but even just a conversation sometimes is helpful. So I just really want to put out there for everyone that not everybody goes through the same thing, and that you don't have to follow by whatever examples you've been exposed to or you've experienced, because this is yours. This is what you are going through, and you have to be honest to yourself. You have to speak up when you need to speak up. You need to advocate for yourself when you need to advocate for yourself, and you need to be honest about how you are feeling and how you are doing. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself struggling. And I think it's a damn shame. It is a damn shame that we do have to struggle so much. It's a damn shame that I've struggled so much. But I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you now, and that's what matters, and that's what counts. So you can take my experience for what it's been. I will have more videos coming, because obviously I'm not completely done healing and I want to update more. However, I just want people to know that it's not as cut and dry. It's not as simple as it is. And, there are a lot of people that do have the most positive experiences. There are a lot of people that really don't have complications, but there are also a good chunk of us that go through a great deal more, and it's not spoken about. It's not talked about. And in Canada, we have a surgeon in BC that only deals with BC patients for phalloplasty and metoidioplasty. Montreal does phalloplasty and metoidioplasty. However, Montreal only does only does RFF. So any other type of phalloplasty is not accessible by Montreal. And there is a new surgeon that started in January that is in Ottawa. They're new, and I have not heard anything about reviews or anything about them. I just know that they're there, and I know that they offer trans male bottom surgery. I do hope to get some information so that I can let people know more, but at this point in time, like, that's what we got here. And coming home knowing that, like, yeah, okay, Montreal does phalloplasty, but they don't do the phalloplasty that I did. So having any faith or trust in them, to me, was a no-go. And being someone who consulted with them, and they actually had told me that they were going to start offering alt phalloplasty, which is what I had. And that was a whole crock. My experience with them was terrible. I'm not saying it is for everybody, but they are never allowed to touch me. And that will be my stance on it. That's all it is. They are never allowed to touch me. I do not trust them. I don't want anything to do with them. But that is my own personal thing. If you have gone through with Montreal and had an amazing experience, if you are going through with Montreal and you are happy, then that is awesome. For me, it was not. So, yeah, just give yourself some grace. Don't feel pressured by how other people are portraying their experience to limit yourself and what you've experienced, because people do need to hear your experience if you want to share it. I'm sure that if there were more people willing to share their experiences, I may have been, emotionally and mentally a little bit more prepared. But you know what? That's not something that I can confirm. And I'm not blaming anybody, it's what I had available to me at the time. So now I have the opportunity to share with people my experience. And I know that this video has been super long, but if you have honestly stayed and listened to this whole thing, I greatly appreciate you. And I'm very thankful that you have taken the time to actually invest and just take a glimpse into a different perspective from this surgery and a different perspective of transitioning than what is mainly put out there. Everybody needs positivity, and positivity is something that is very important. But sometimes there is just not a positive outlook to put out. And when there is, I'm willing and ready to put it out there. I have no qualms with it. I want to be, I wish I could have put all this out and had no issues and been overly positive and stuff like that. But I just can't think that sugarcoating everything is okay. So that's why I am here, saying what I'm saying. Thank you again. I appreciate it so much. As you can see, I am feeling a lot better, and I am slowly getting back to where I need to be. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, and I hope that you all have a great rest of the week, that you have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all later. If you need anything, you can comment below, or like I said before, go over to Transfellas on Instagram and hit me up. I'm completely open to talking. So everybody take care, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.